Your next step should be to take the number checker function we've just developed and replace the old number checker with the more flexible one. Then, when you ask for the number of rounds, you need to call the number checker function correctly. After we've got the number of rounds, we can also get the game parameters by asking for a low number. Note that for our high number, the parameter for low is one more than the low number that the user chooses. A look at my planning shows that our next step is to calculate the maximum number of guesses based on the low and high number. We can automate our testing for this function. The first thing I've done is imported the math library, and I've also edited my function's name. I've set up what we need to test, where the first thing in each tuple is the low number, followed by the high number, and then the expected result. Then when I call the function, I can call the low number and the high number, and it should return the correct number of guesses. I've also edited our results that instead of just saying the case, it gives us the range that we've inputted. To work out the number of guesses, we first take the high number minus the low number plus 1, and we're going to call that variable numRange. We can then work out how many guesses are needed using log to the base 2, which means a binary search strategy. Here's how this might work. If we've got the numbers between 0 and 10, we can pretend that our secret number is 0. For the person guessing, they'd probably try to guess 5 as their first guess, in which case we'd go lower. So that's guess number 1. Then they'd want to go halfway, so they're tossing up between 2 and 3, and let's just say they choose 2. That's guess number 2, at which point they'd say lower. So then they're looking at between 0 and 1, and if they're unlucky, they'll say 1, and if they're lucky, they'll say 0. At this point, we're looking at making sure that they've got at least 4 guesses so that they don't lose the game. And in fact, we've decided to be nice to them and we're giving them 1 extra guess in our test plan just in case they make a mistake. So I've gone through and run the code, and of course it's all going to fail, but that's okay because we can see that we're pretty close in terms of the number that we are getting from our formula, but we can also see that it's not an integer. So the next thing we can do is round up. And this is looking really promising, and in fact for our 1 to 10 we do get the 4 guesses. But remember, we want to be kind to our users, and that means giving them an additional guess, so our maximum guesses is our rounded up value plus 1. And now when we run that piece of code, we can see it works as expected, which means I want to take that function and put it into my game component, and you'll notice that math is underlined in red, and that means we need to go all the way to the top and import that math library. And now when we go down, we don't have a problem. And we can then go underneath where we have our low number and our high number, and we can call that function and put the result in a variable called guesses allowed. Once you've got that working, your next step should be to randomly generate a secret number, which you know how to do. And you also know enough to create a piece of code for your guessing loop. In the next video, I will give you some hints, and I'll also show you how you can check that a guess is not a duplicate.